All right, this is Dr. Tim Peck. I am here with Dylan Liddle, who is Lawrenceburg Council, City Council District 2. District 2. We are in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Our viewership for Project Next has largely been in this kind of triangle, quadrangle from the Dayton, Cincinnati area over to Indy to Bloomington down to Louisville. And Lawrenceburg really sits very much in the middle of all of that.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly important location to this area. And I would love to hear, why do you live in Lawrenceburg? Why do you stay here? What do you love about it? What is it that draws you to want to represent the people here? Um, Tell me about this city.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Lawrenceburg. Love this area. For me, it started when I was young, right? My grandparents raised me. Starting at around the age of 7 years old, I ended up moving in with them. My parents had some addiction issues. And what Lawrenceburg really meant to me, right, was it was a community that cared for each other, whether it was going to the pool and the pool manager knowing your name, and making sure that you got a snack from the concession stand all the time, or going to school and the teachers being able to, this was before email and everything was huge, but being able to reach out to my grandparents and tell them when I was doing something stupid, right? Lawrenceburg is such a unique place, and the opportunities that we've had here over the years have been just tremendous. We've had so much economic development. We've invested in childcare options at our local community center. We've invested in housing, and we've invested in all kinds of different things. Obviously, with that, we also have our challenges like every community. But what Lawrenceburg really means to me is it's home. It's an opportunity for children to flourish. We have early college options at our local high school. We've partnered with Ivy Tech Community College and Vincennes University for them to be able to get college credits and have that affordable college opportunity before they even get out of high school. Our high school.
Where are kids going to college mostly when they're graduating high school around here?
So it depends. Sometimes they'll travel off to IU. Sometimes they'll go to UC. Sometimes they'll just stay. If they didn't go through the early college program at Lawrenceburg, they'll stay at home and go to Ivy Tech.
And there's an Ivy Tech campus here.
Yeah.
There's a nursing school here. Yeah.
We have two Ivy Tech campuses. We focus on both professional jobs, but also industrial jobs, right? One of the things with Lawrenceburg is we like to make sure that we're focusing on opportunities for professional development. And what I mean by that is if you're a laborer working, we want to be able to help you craft your trade even better. Whether it's going to Ivy Tech and taking some programs to get better welding skills because you want to become a welder. We don't just look at opportunities for nurses, teachers, or to become doctors or lawyers. We also look at opportunities for you to become a welder or to become a trucker or whatever those situations are.
So we'll talk more about your role in labor and role in unions and what even a union is and how do you get into one? What does it do for people? What does it mean to be in a union in this state versus maybe, Michigan? And how is it different? It's something I think people need to know and want to know about of like how is the experience in Indiana in particular. But I'd like to ask you about a story that I absolutely love, which is you once ran for mayor. How old were you?
I was 18 years old when I declared. I was a senior in high school and had this crazy idea that I was going to run for mayor as an independent. It came from my love for community. My grandfather served on city council for 12 years. So kind of knew the interlocal issues that we had here. But I also knew that we could do better still, right? And so I had this crazy idea. And I remember everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, this has to be this big joke. Like, why are you running?" And I was so serious. Like I spent.
Were you still in high school?
I was still in high school.
You were.
Now at the time of the election, I was graduated.
Uh-huh.
So I was in high school from
Yeah, when you
Yeah,
opened it up.
yeah, from when I opened it up until the primary, right?
Mhm.
And one thing about running as an independent, you have no primary. So you go straight to the general election, and that was strategic because it was a heavy primary season. I
Yeah.
remember it very, very vividly.
Was there a DNNR running?
Yeah, so there was two Ds running in the primary. So
Oh,
there
wow.
was a contested Democratic primary. We had our incumbent mayor, Dennis Carr, and then, sorry, not incumbent mayor, former mayor Dennis Carr running to take back the seat that he had lost
Mhm.
in 15 versus council member Aaron Cook.
Mhm.
So both had been elected at some point. Both were Democrats, very well known in the community. And then on the Republican side, you had the incumbent mayor Kelly Milan against former Democratic council member that flipped to Republican Mike Lawrence
So
uh,
this was a spicy,
versus Steve
heated
Linkmeyer. Yeah,
heated election that you put yourself in,
yeah,
and you
and
probably stole some votes from people.
I don't know if I'd say I stole votes, but I worked hard for those votes.
Sure. And I'm sure you deserved every single one of them. I mean, if you earned them at 18, you definitely deserve them. So that's amazing. Yeah, what was that experience like?
It was so unique. I went out, and one thing that I believe, right, is like when you're running for an election, you have to knock doors, whether it be any race, whether it's township trustee.
Why?
Why do you have to knock doors? Because that's the only way that people know who you truly are.
Hmm.
They're going to hear so many different negative things about you that some might not even be true. I can't tell you the amount of stories that I
Yeah.
ended up hearing about me that I was like, man, I just learned something new about myself. Like, I
I
wouldn't
got
vote for that guy either.
I got tons.
Um,
Yeah.
but you get to go out and you get to make those connections with folks, and it's like they get to see you at face value.
Uh-huh.
You get to interact with someone face to face, and that's worth more than any mailer, any commercial, or anything that
It
goes
also
out
makes it
there.
fun, doesn't it?
It
I mean,
does.
it makes it that you're actually connecting to people and you're learning. Part of that is the listening part of it. It's
Yeah,
not just the telling people who you are, but the listening part.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's asking them, what are the concerns that you're having at your kitchen table, right? And oftentimes you hear these issues, and this is national, but people talk about healthcare, people talk about whatever. But when you're knocking doors as a city council member, the issues that you're hearing is, I don't have enough streetlights, or
Hmm.
for us, we own our utilities, so it's my utility bill's too expensive.
Hmm.
And those
What
are
do you
the
mean? Yeah, because of
issues.
RAMC, is that what you're
No,
saying?
we actually, so the city of Lawrenceburg owns Lawrenceburg Municipal Utilities.
Okay.
We own our own electric, water, sewer. And so as a city, we set rates and we try to keep it. We actually, I'm proud to say we have the third lowest or fifth lowest utility rates in the state of Indiana. Something I'm quite proud of. I tout that a lot, but it, still, I mean, there are people out there that struggle to make ends meet,
Yeah.
even with what we have.
Right.
And those are some of the local issues that when you're going door to door and knocking doors and talking to these folks, that you get to learn about. Again, it's the street lights. It's, I want a nicer park for my children to play at, or we need more housing. That's a big one that's coming up, and that's a national issue, right?
Sure.
Housing everywhere has become so expensive that is a huge issue that I heard going door to door, and
Right.
that's what I love about going door to door is as elected officials, oftentimes people will make the mistake of thinking that they know everything, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And we don't. Whether you've been in office for 10 years or whether you've been in office for two,
Sure.
you learn those issues when you're going door to door.
How do people find out information here? You're talking about going door to door. We're in Lawrenceburg. You're really part of the Cincinnati catchment area and market in terms of media. Um, how do people get their knowledge of what's happening in the Indiana State House? Where are people learning about issues, both Indiana-wise, but also locally?
Simple. They don't.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard, right?
Unfortunately, some of the issues that we have here is um, we don't hear anything about Indianapolis, right? We
Yeah.
hear about what Aftab Purval is doing out of Cincinnati, or what's coming out of Kentucky with Andy Bashir. We don't really hear what the local issues of Indianapolis are, right?
Okay.
And those are what affect us most. Every now and again, we'll see a news article on our local radio station that will tout what a Republican is doing, but you don't ever hear the other side of that. One of the big ones that we've been trying to get out there that is a huge issue is the legislation where they tried to pass, if you're homeless, you'll get hit with a Class C misdemeanor, right?
Yeah.
Like poverty's already your issue, so now we're just going to make it harder for you to get a job by slapping you with a Class C misdemeanor.
Is
So,
homelessness an issue here in Lawrenceburg and Dearborn?
yeah, it is. It's not as bad as some other areas,
Hmm.
but it's everywhere,
Yeah.
right? Like whether you live in Washington County or Dearborn County, there's going to be somewhat of a homeless population.
We've started to do a bit of a series on homelessness. I spoke to an expert from New Albany just a couple days ago. Sarah's spoken to some people, and we actually have lined up and are lining up 10 different guests to just really dig into homelessness in southern Indiana
Yeah.
and learn about the issues. So it's going to be something that I mean, it's near, very well, it's near and dear to my heart because of my father's background helping the homeless his whole life. But I think it's one of those things where you don't want to look at it. It's easier to not look and not see it as a problem, and it's easier to be it's easier to be in a place where you don't have to give and you don't have to give yourself to a problem if you know it doesn't exist. So it very much exists, and we're going to find out a whole lot more about it. I have no idea of anyone else covering this. We don't really consider ourselves a news outlet so much, but it's feeling like we're almost starting to be getting into news, right?
Yeah.
It's an issue that I just don't see. So I'm excited to learn a lot more. Um,
A bit about that before you
yeah,
move on.
yeah.
In Dearborn County, we took a proactive approach, and I have to give a huge shout out to folks like Ken Madden, Rachel Reynolds. Some of the things that we've done here is it's called a community blessing box. And what we do is this doesn't necessarily help with the homelessness issue, right? But we have community blessing boxes that we fill with clothing, whether it be wintertime clothing, summertime apparel, or other things, blankets during the wintertime for folks that are living out of their vehicles, but even clothes and a couple of other things. We want to be proactive because we know at the end of the day, whether you're homeless or you're a millionaire, right? Like you're still a human. You should still have basic dignity. And that's something that I'm very grateful that even in a red area like Dearborn County, folks understand, and we've taken a very proactive approach on that.
And so you call it a red area. You've run as an independent for mayor. You've run as a Democrat for city council, and you won. It doesn't, you broke the kind of mold of what a red area is. So, what has that experience been like? Garnering support from uh, all walks of life.
So I say it's a red area, but at the end of the day, all of Indiana, right, is kind of this purple area that has voter turnout issues, and I think that's something we've all heard from different candidates.
I just click on that because not everyone has heard that who our viewership
Yeah.
because not everyone is as politically engaged as you and I might be, but we are 50 out of 51 in terms of voter turnout in
Yeah.
the United States, including DC. And on off-year elections, it's much worse. We are that is the
We
reason
had
we're 50.
23% show. We had 23% turnout at a municipal election.
Oh, geez. So, I mean, one of the things I keep telling people is that if everybody who came out and voted for me last time came out and voted this time, we're going to win this time. And so it's just about getting people out in this state. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of the energy has been sucked out of the room in past years, but
Yeah.
this year the energy seems to be a bit different. So,
Yeah, well, and so the way that I was able to really break that mold is I knocked every single door in my district 3 times. I fundraised a lot of money. Thank you to the unions out there that supported me. With me being a union rep, I had an opportunity to connect with those people in a lot of ways. But it was talking to folks about the issues that meant something to them, right? I think that sometimes we get caught up in issues that aren't necessarily relevant for the office that we're running for. And at a local level, right? Like the issues that I want to be talking about is economic development. How can I keep my downtown Main Street businesses open? How can I
Hmm.
make sure that they're staying here, that they're hiring workers? How can I, as a city council member now, how can I work with private developers to make sure that they're building housing in my district or in the city, period, right? And looking at the issues that really matter. And the other big one that I talked about was affordable childcare options, which we've been successful in, right? We have the community center that we're starting to open up more childcare options to parents, and that really helps, right? Because then we get back to the economic message of, well, when you have both parents having the opportunity to work, that's opening up a two-income household for these families.
Hmm.
And so that was the message that I really ran on, was the economic populist message.
Hmm.
And that's what people seem to care about in my area. And it's because those values resonate with me, right? Like I'm a union rep. I know that everyone at the end of the day wants to make more money, and they should. They should have a fair day's pay for a fair day's, oh, can't talk, fair day's wage for a fair day's pay. Um, and those were the issues that were important here. And that was, I believe, what
So
broke the mold.
what is a union? I think that question people are sometimes even afraid to ask,
Yeah.
right? It's such a large part of our history in many ways. So if you're not touching it every day, you might not really know what it does.
Yeah.
And then if you can also talk about what is a union in Indiana, right? Is it different than a union in Washington State or Michigan or Alabama? Like, what is there any local flavor to unions?
Yeah. So kind of starting at the beginning, say thank you to a union if you get a 40-hour work week or if you get paid holidays and overtime pay, because those were all established by unions, right? But to
I think
start
that's
at
such an
the,
important. Just to stop on that for a second, of just like the things we take for granted in our life are came from somewhere,
yeah,
right? In America, we have so many freedoms. We have so many things that we're blessed with. One of those is worker protections that are codified, whether you're a union or not. But it was the unions that got us to a place to even have those things.
yeah.
So
And so that's kind of starting at the beginning. And oftentimes now, and I get it, we're 100 years past where the labor movement started. But back then, it was a group of people that wanted different. They didn't want to have to work 60 hours in a coal mine. They didn't want to have to work um, all the time with no overtime pay, making 50 cents an hour in those coal mines or
mhm.
whatever the situation was. So they came together as one collective group and they fought back, which is something that we still see to this day, right? Like we're in this situation where, and sorry to go to politics, but we have to fight back.
Mhm.
But anyways, going back to the union question, it's a union isn't that organization that represents you. I mean, it is in a nutshell, but your union is really your group of workers that are in this workplace that are coming together to fight for values that they believe in. And that's getting representation to make sure that your employer is not going to take advantage of you. To make sure that if you're terminated, you have the opportunity through an arbitration or grievance process to be reinstated into your job if you were terminated for and there wasn't any just cause. That's what unions are all about. It's about protecting workers where they're at in that place, and I think it's important to know because unions, like me as a union rep, I'm not the union, right? My membership is the union, and I represent their values.
Mhm.
So it's a democratic apparatus to make sure that the folks that are in their workplace are getting the representation that they feel they deserve.
So unions sometimes get bad rap on some things. So maybe you can address some of the things that people, if they're misconceptions, if they are part of the truth but getting stretched in the wrong way, or are they just true, right? So, the union leaders are, taking the money of people who are working in their everyday work, but not really, and putting that in their own pockets, right? That's something you hear enough that it should be talked about. Like, why do we even hear that?
It's absolutely not true. You can actually go to the Department of Labor's website and see where every single dollar of a union's money is spent, whether
The
it
State
is,
Department of Labor's
no, it's
website.
federal.
Federal. Okay.
And they have to report where every single dollar goes. So for example, out of our union dues, I get a salary, right? I get paid. But with that, I also work probably 60 hours a week. Like I am constantly busy, whether it be having 4 or 5 different grievances a week, or
What do you mean by grievances?
let's say someone had a dispute at work. For example, just throwing out a hypothetical here. Someone got the wrong pay. They went to HR, hey, I didn't get the right amount of pay, and this needs to be fixed. HR tells them, sorry, not my problem. They have an option to come to me, we can file a grievance, and then I can conduct my own investigation and go back into it with HR and show them where they were wrong and force them to pay the employee the right amount of money.
Right.
Or if it's a termination, if it's not for just cause, again, go into that grievance process, force them to rehire that employee.
And why doesn't that organization, that business, just say, kind of kick the union out?
They legally can't
Why? How's
because
that?
it's up to the employees. The employees have the right to pick a bargaining unit that they want to represent them, right? It's an unfair labor practice for a company to say, hey, we don't want this union anymore, you have to get rid of them. If the company is getting involved and doing an unfair labor practice, you can file labor board charges
Right.
with the Department of Labor, and there are consequences.
So
for
what does right to work state mean then?
So going into that, there's a difference in right to work states and non-right to work states, right? I like to call right to work states right to work for less. And what that means is, as a union member, you have the right to not pay union dues. But that was legislation that was put out to weaken bargaining units. So oftentimes where you see this is in very conservative states, right? Indiana is right to work. They passed that because if
Why is it a conservative issue to make it so that workers have less bargaining power?
I have no idea. It blows my mind that it even has became an issue because what
And I'm actually, I'm not sure if I've ever articulated it that way.
Yeah.
I would love to have that conversation of what does the conservative movement get out of weaker workers?
I don't know if you're a conservative figurehead and you own a business and you're an elected official and you have the power to get rid of their rights and it makes your life easier as an elected official and as a business owner. Maybe that's why they
Right?
do it.
So it's somehow contributing to free capitalism to be able to allow business owners and those who are investing in these businesses to have more freedom to do what they want with their money rather than give it to the people who are making the stuff.
Yeah, well, because like here's the thing, right? Like if you're in a right to work state and you don't have to pay dues, that union isn't getting as much money to be able to represent you. So even if you don't pay union dues, I still have to represent you versus, let's say, Tina over here, who does pay her union dues. I still have to represent you both the same.
Sure.
I can't get out of that, right? And so let's say this person, and let's say that 50% of the people in the workplace don't pay their union dues, but I still have to represent all of those folks, and the company's getting rid of them left and right, left and right. And I have to file these grievances. There's a cost associated with that, whether it's hiring an arbitrator or whatever the situation is.
Sure.
And so it depletes your union's bank account and they can't represent you to the same quality. That's kind of what these right to work states are for, is it's to make your union weaker at the end of the day because they don't want as strong of a bargaining unit as normal.
And Indiana's a right to work state. Is Ohio a right to work state?
Ohio is not a right to work state.
And is Kentucky?
Kentucky is a right to work
Okay,
state.
so Ohio is not. So how does that manifest that Ohio is not a right to work state? Here in Indiana, we are. Where's the proof that unions are working is that, is that case study there that it's working in Ohio, that it's not working here, where's the proof?
Let's take a look at wages. Wages in Ohio are probably 15 to 25% higher than what they are in Indiana.
Okay.
If you look at a nurse's pay and a bargaining unit, in Ohio, she's going to make more than the average nurse pay in Indiana, and that has to do with the bargaining power of a union, right? The other thing is, and here's the proof, right? Not only do you get better wages, but you also have a contract to protect you. You also have better healthcare benefits. You also have all of those different protections that a union provides to you.
Mhm.
There's a very, very clear case study for what the differences are between union and non-union.
Has your wife finished school?
She just graduated
She did.
on the 9th.
Oh my God, congratulations.
So,
So what did she graduate with in terms of degree? What is she, is a
associates in nursing.
associates in nursing? Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
She is specializing in mental health, enjoying every minute of
Oh,
being
we
a
need that.
nurse.
Access to mental health is obviously
Yeah.
an issue for all of us right now. So I'm glad that she decided to do such a, noble job.
Yeah, she's loving every minute of it, and I couldn't be more proud of her. She actually graduated president of her class. So,
Really?
yeah, she got to give a big speech at graduation, and it was a fun day. So,
Very cool. All right. So you're a union rep, you are city council person. Um, you seem to be a pretty busy person. Yeah. So if I'm coming to Lawrenceburg, like we are sitting here right now, next weekend, and I have a weekend to do something, what am I doing? Where am I staying? Where am I going? Where am I eating? What's the entertainment? What am I doing with my family? I got my 2-year-old with me.
Okay.
What does Lawrenceburg have to offer?
I got two different scenarios for you here.
All right. Yeah. I mean, every vacation's different, right?
Let's say you come a weekend in January. Here's what my recommendation is going to be. You're going to go to the casino.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going to ask everyone here to go to the casino because it supports our community so much. We get gaming dollars. So go to the casino.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to stay at the DoubleTree Hotel that's in downtown Lawrenceburg.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to check out Proof 124 because they have some of the best food locally. Then you're going to go
I
to
like that
Strong's
place.
for pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And
Strong's, you said?
yeah,
I haven't been to
Strong's.
Strong's.
It is a brick oven pizza place. Very good. Great local owners. Nice
Okay.
people. And then you're going to go to Perfect North Slopes since it's January, and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to check out the ski slopes, and you're going to have a great time with your family, right?
Awesome.
Now, let's say that it is June or July, and you're coming down on a Thursday. You're still going to stay at the DoubleTree Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
You're still going to go to the casino. Then you're going to come to our civic park that is in the downtown of our city. And you're going to check out our Free Music on the River series that we have every summer, every Thursday night. And you're still going to check out Strong's and you're still going to check out Proof. Those are
What's
just great
the name of that
places.
coffee place that I like so much?
Funny Farm.
Funny Farm.
Now you made me feel bad. I forgot about Funny
No,
Farm.
we got it in. We got it in. I love that place. I forgot the name of it. That's good. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. You sound like you're on the tourist board of Lawrenceburg and southeastern Indiana. Is there a place for someone to go online and check out what Lawrenceburg has to offer?
Yeah, you can check out thinklawrenceburg.com. Again, that is thinklawrenceburg.com. And that will tell you everything about what our city finances and city government's doing to local places that you can check out. The other place that I have to give a shout out to, now you're making me second guess myself because there's so many
And
great businesses.
people can put stuff in the comments of where they like to go in
Yeah.
Lawrenceburg when they're visiting. There's going to be people who live in Lawrenceburg watching this. Tell us where to go, what to do, where to camp, where to. I loved the rodeo here.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
4-H.
Tim Peck for Congress sponsored the rodeo.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Well, so we have every Saturday, I forgot about this. We have races every Saturday through the summertime as well at Lawrenceburg Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have the Liberty Theater now. So the Liberty Theater
That's
was
right. It's
a
open now.
huge economic redevelopment
When did
project.
that open again?
It opened last September because I got married there in October.
That's
And
right.
I took a huge risk on not knowing what it would look like.
Yeah, so you had a wedding venue with not having any idea what it would look like,
Yeah,
and even if it was going to be open in time for your wedding. So
yeah.
that's
High risk, high reward.
that's awesome. So how has that gone for them? What's been there now that they're open? And just to give context of what the
Yeah.
Liberty Theater was and
Um,
is. Yeah.
so the Liberty Theater it's got a lot of history to it. And one thing that we're very proud of in Lawrenceburg is preserving our historic buildings. So that was something that happened with that Liberty Theater project. It was over the years deteriorated quite a bit, turned into a photographer's place, a couple of other things, lots of asbestos, wasn't really able to be utilized. The owner ended up selling it back to the city. The city invested a lot of money
Mhm.
before I was elected. Before I was elected, to redevelop this, and we partnered with a private developer who is doing a good job. Dan McCabe is his name. He's doing a really good job trying to make that place vibrant, make it sustainable, and make it thrive. And so going into it today, it is a wedding venue. He does concerts there every single every single weekend. And on stage right, he has a kitchen, so it sells delicious chicken all through the week. And
Nice.
then on stage left, he has a bourbon bar. So it's just turned into such a unique location, and now it's very beautiful now that it's completed. But it was a scary economic redevelopment project. But I also must say that I'm very thankful for the staff that we have at a city level because Judy McAdams, who is our grant administrator, was able to obtain a grant to actually help with that economic development project. So,
So, this the highway goes right by here through a lot of fast food restaurants and shopping and things that you need for your daily life, Walmart, etc. Is there a Walmart right over there?
There's
Yeah,
right
it's
over
right
there.
over there, right? And all the things you need as someone who lives here, or if you're passing through to, get a bite to eat, etc. But you have to go off of that highway to get to downtown Lawrenceburg, which is quaint and cute and beautiful and vibrant. And what's that restaurant that is outside that has the fire pits for?
Oh, Ice House.
Ice House, yeah, that place. It's a good bar there. I mean, there's just so much to offer, and it's been fun to be
Yeah.
here. But you have to get off of this highway to make that happen. I think Madison has a similar issue where people will go around it through that commerce area that people who live there need, but got to get off the highway to go downtown to get there. So I just want to make that clear. Like when do you veer off? When does that happen if I'm passing through here to get to Cincinnati or the highway?
So if you're coming down US 50, which is the main interstate that the main state highway that you'd be coming through, potentially, or 74, 75, depending on what way you're coming, either from Indianapolis or if you're coming from Louisville. You're going to get off at the exit. If you're coming down 50, it is the first right after you smell the sewer plant, unfortunately. It's the best way to put it. First right after that. And if it is 275 or 75, you're getting off on the first exit after the bridge to the left, coming from Kentucky, or the first bridge to the right after Ohio.
Okay. And then you're coming down to the downtown, and it's very much worth your time. Just stop in and get a bite to eat. If you don't have that much time, or go to Funny Farm Coffee for some coffee, that's what I would recommend. Okay, very cool. Anything else you want to say about the town that you seem to know so well, love so much?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. If you have an opportunity to come down, we would appreciate it. Um, if you go to the casino, gamble responsibly.
Okay.
I will always say that. As much as I am thankful for them, please don't bet your life away. But please come down and visit the city of Lawrenceburg and see what we have to offer. You might want to move here.
Well, thank you. You might want to move here. There's a good. No, it's great. It's great to know. Southeast Indiana has so much to offer. There's so many different pockets of, for me, District 9, where we are, and Lawrenceburg's one of them that is disconnected in some ways, and I wish we can connect it more. And I think Project Next is trying to just bring all these communities together, support one another. If you live in New Albany, go check out Lawrenceburg. If you live in Lawrenceburg, go check out Brookville, whatever it might be. Brookville's another place that's off the beaten path that is just awesome.
Yeah.
What's the name of that bar downtown in Brookville that we've been to?
Third place.
Third place. Yeah, that place is cool. So all these places to see, and it's also beautiful there down in that valley. There just is so many towns and cities in this area to see, and just, we got to get outside of our own little bubbles into the rest of it, and share our viewpoints and share what we know about the world. So thank you for taking the time
Absolutely.
today. Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.